So it's 11 o'clock on Tuesday, the 9th of September 2016. And my name is Roland Leggett. Welcome to another session of You Don't Know What You Don't Know, also called 365 in 365 and the Modern Workplace. Fortunately, this morning I am with the awesomeness that is Mr. Trevor Schumacher. Trevor, how are you this morning, sir?
Good, thank you, Roland. And again, thanks everybody for coming along and having a listen to these sessions. I'm finding them extremely powerful, not only for my learning experience, and it was built and we designed this around the fact of exactly what we're doing. You don't know what you don't know. And people were saying, how do we find out about things that we don't know about? It's so hard to understand. So it's designed that I pick up things. Roland, Mr. Office 365, he knows the ins and outs of all of these applications. And, it's funny, isn't it, Roland? I was just talking to you a few minutes ago. As a general user, the concept of an application even is confusing everybody else in the marketplace. So, we used to have programs and software, and now we're calling them applications. And as you said, even now they've changed it from web apps to online. So it's changing faster than we can even think about it.
Exactly. I think that in my mind, the real differentiating factor between an application and an app is an application has the capability to run on its own as an entity without connecting to a cloud service. So, for example, if we use the difference between Word that comes with Office 2013 or 2016, a full-blown copy of Word, it has all the little bits it needs to work on in isolation to the cloud. Whereas if we look at something like Word Online, PowerPoint Online, or Excel Online, what we find is that needs to interact with the cloud. In fact, that runs in the cloud. In the same way that applications on your phone are often pulling data or gleaming data of different cloud services to show you the results or feed you information about your location, people around you, social networks. A lot of those things, if you think of like the Facebook cat, it's interacting with Facebook. The LinkedIn app is interacting with LinkedIn. Now we come from...
I think I've always had, though, Ron, I've always had the opinion that an app was an app that was only on your phone.
Yes.
And I think the marketplace is very similar in that sense, but it's not really, is it? It's an app that's on your device, really. It's, and that's where the cloud is moving.
Yes, there's a small amount of code on your phone, and that interacts with a larger amount of services that are hosted in the cloud. So I thought we'd start this morning with a little bit of a history lesson, Trevor, talking about where Office 365 and the cloud and this concept of these web apps are coming from. So I've spoken about this before, guys, on these sessions, and we start saying, why Office 365? Why now? Why Office 365? Where does it come from? So, as most of you can hear from my accent, I'm not originally Australian, strangely enough. I was born in South Africa, lived in the UK for a while, and came over to Australia in 2000, actually, as an Exchange 2000 engineer. So, to quickly summarize the business workloads and the experiences that you guys have had on an Exchange server for the last 20 or so years, for those of you who've been using Outlook for 10 or more years, you'll be like, yes, I'm familiar with that Exchange server. I had an Outlook client, and the 3 business workloads I got from Outlook was email. We know it. We love it. I think most of us get enough of it. Instant messaging, video conferencing, and presence. Well, that wasn't really serviced by Outlook. It was more serviced by the MSN or the little Windows Messenger client. Lastly, the other aspect you had serviced by Outlook was this concept of a central repository of all your intellectual property, which came in the form of public folders. Now, we could access that Exchange 2000 server one of 2 possible ways. Like I said, with the application Outlook, and then with OWA, or Outlook Web App. Okay, so OWA, which was a browser-based version of Outlook. The reason why we're talking about this is because this is the same technology or very similar technology that is used in Word Online, Excel Online, PowerPoint Online, and OneNote Online. So what we're looking at, guys, is not something that is revolutionary. Everybody on this call has, for the last 10 years, and I'm just going out on a limb here, used web mail of some form. When I'm online, I can access my Outlook Web Access or my Outlook Web App through a browser interface. So what we're going to do is we're going to take those workloads, we're going to look at the Office workloads and look at what's been going on with Exchange for the last, actually, we can say this year, 20 years. Outlook Web, OWA, was first released in 1996.
Wow.
Yeah, so there was an IIS4 on Exchange 5.5. There was an IIS4 component which implemented Outlook Web Access. So 1996 was when I actually first installed it. I was a child protege at the time.
And how did it work though, Roland? Because you knew that Exchange server and everything was on your server, but an application, your server just would push it up into the cloud rather than push it up into the internet and then you can access it. It was very clumsy though.
It was clumsy, and it was early doors for this type of technology, Trevor. But what essentially happened was on your email server, the server that looked after that first business workload in the presentation there, your email server, you would install a web server in the form of Internet Information Service. So what you'd say is here, I've got a server that's already distributing mail for people. To extend the functionality of that, I'm going to also make my email server a web server. And then built into it was this thing saying, hey man, I can see you guys have got email over here. Would you like me to publish that in a website?
Right, so it's sort of reverse of what we're doing now.
Kind of reverse of what we're doing now. Now we've got a website and the cloud provides all of this through browser functionality. And we're saying, hey guys, we got email back here. You want to, join that up?
You want to have that on your desktop version?
Exactly. And so I'm just looking at the first business workload, but if we look at the last business workload there, which is SharePoint, okay? SharePoint, I always talk about it as being your central repository of all your intellectual property. And really, the server side of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote. So a couple of years ago with SharePoint 2010, what Microsoft did was they said, hey, man, I can see that people really enjoy being able to access Outlook through a browser interface. That's pretty cool. And they got improvements in productivity. It means no matter what device they've got, if they can get an internet connection, they can get their email, which is happy days, right? So what Microsoft then said was, well, why don't we take the stuff that we've done with Outlook and publishing it through a web interface to Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote and publish that through a web interface. And that's where we ended up with, Word Online, Excel Online, PowerPoint Online, and OneNote Online. They really started out as Outlook, as the concept that we had with Outlook Web Access, but with Word Web Access, with Excel Web Access, and with PowerPoint Web Access. So, go.
And hopefully I'm not jumping the gun a bit here.
No.
When do you make the decision to choose? And again, it's like what we were talking about, the different modes of communication, modalities of communication. Again, we've got a situation we say, when do we use an online version of the application versus using the desktop version of the application? Because your natural instinct is to always use the desktop version.
That's if you have the desktop version. Now, Trevor, you're quite a Windowsy guy. You got a Windows tablet, you got a Windows PC, you got a Windows phone. Okay, I know this because you work for Hub One, and I got the same. Yeah. However, there's other people on this call who are not Windows people, and in some cases, the Windows applications, the Microsoft applications, may not run natively on some type of Android or iOS system. So there might be another operating system there that you cannot install the full-blown application that is Word on there. It just won't work. There's no function. Now that's changed a lot over the, Satya Nadella taking over Microsoft is very much about interoperability and saying, hey guys, I want to make sure Skype for Business is developed for Android before it's developed for Windows. And he's taking these design decisions and saying we support iOS before we support Windows. So he's actually prioritizing projects on non-Microsoft operating systems over projects on Microsoft operating systems. But that hasn't always been the case. Okay, Nadella is a technologist, and he's about interoperability, and that's why we're seeing things like, new version of Skype for Business launched on Android, and everybody's saying, "Hey, man, where's the one for Windows?" And that's been put on the back burner.
Yeah. Yes, I know.
But it hasn't. I know. It's a sore point for us Windows users. But the Android people are, dancing in the street. Well, maybe not dancing in the street, but at least expressing some type of joy. So what I'm saying here, guys, is in the same way that you got used to using Outlook Web Access with limited functionality, we're going to see Word Online, PowerPoint Online as a subset of the full-blown product. So there's two reasons why you would choose to use the web app version, Trevor, over the full-blown product. Reason number one, okay, you can't get the full-blown product on the current device or operating system that you've got.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like for us accountants, that F4 functionality for creating formulas and so forth. Gosh, I couldn't get that one out. That's not there. Insert date function and other functions aren't available in the Word Online version. So you've got to take it down. But it's designed for making minor changes to the document.
That's exactly right. I have to make a minor change to the document, or I've actually landed in a environment where they want me to present off an Android device and my PowerPoint is sitting in SkyDrive or OneDrive. It's sitting up in the cloud. Yeah. At that point, you can open up a browser, log in, and still be able to present. Now, will you be able to do some other features in PowerPoint? No. Will you be able to do VLOOKUPs in Excel? No. There are a limitation of these features, and I want you to be thinking all the time, this is something I can only use online. If I'm not online, I don't have access to this. My documents are still there, but if I'm not online, I don't have access to these features and functions.
Yeah, so like if you're doing a PowerPoint presentation, which you'll see, and then you've got a video that you're running in there, an embedded video. It won't work online, but and there's all those things. And yes. It's a matter of using it when, what's best.
When appropriate.
When appropriate, and probably not downloading. And first step is always to just download and work on the document on your desktop, but thinking maybe I could just use it on the online version here.
Yeah. Exactly. I might just be able to do it in the online version, and there are things where I make minor changes just in the online version. Like when we're working on this presentation, what we can do is we can all share and co-author it, so multiple of us editing it together. Now, I need to be crystal clear here, guys. You don't have to be in the online version to be able to co-author. Trevor could be running full-blown PowerPoint on his desktop. I could be on the online version. We could have the same document open in SharePoint, and both of us could be editing it simultaneously. So if you look on the slide on the top right-hand corner of that screenshot, is there a thing saying share, and that's where you would share with somebody else. So that's important to understand, that co-authoring will work in both environments, the application environment and the app environment. The other thing that's critically important to understand is that there's no save button. So this freaks people out. There's a save as button, but there's no save.
Yep.
So they go to save and they're like, what's going on here? I'm doing all these changes and, it's not saving. So it is constantly saving in the background because you're working on it in the cloud, guys. These components are part of SharePoint, really. That's what we're saying. This is a part of SharePoint Online. And it's constantly saving for you in the background. Now, you can use Control-Z to undo this last bit of saved work. That's a top tip, guys. Control-Z is an important thing when it comes to Excel Online, PowerPoint Online, Word Online. And we're going to do some other little tips and tricks as we go through the session today, okay? But when we want to share, when I want to work with, I'm busy doing an Excel spreadsheet, and you see I've got the options there, open in Excel or work in Excel Online. it will only give you the Open in Excel option if it picks up that you've got Excel installed locally. Otherwise, that option will not be available to you. All right. The other one is, and this is one of those things that flummoxes people.
Oh, come on, you've got to explain flummoxing to me. That's out of my vocabulary. I've never seen that word before in my life. You just made that up.
I did. I'm just messing with you now. It's like the acronyms I do just to mess with you. This confuses people or gazumps them. You see, I'm chucking another one in there. This is just going to mess with people, okay?
And Nick's onto it as fast as he possibly can when he wants to get.
I think Trevor maybe flummox. That's beautiful. All right. So, guys, if you look at your keyboard, everybody look down at your keyboard, right? On the bottom left-hand corner, okay, we've got X, C, and V on a standard QWERTY keyboard right next to each other, right? So that is X, cut, C, copy, V, paste. I can use it with the Control or the Windows key. Okay, so in both cases, when I'm in a browser interface, if I go hold down my Control or my Windows key, X, C, or V, cut, copy, paste. And those keys really help you out. They're great time savers. They put next to each other, 1, 2, 3, boom, 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 next to each other, so that it improves your productivity. There wasn't an accident. They didn't say, let's pick 3 random keys anywhere on the keyboard and make them cut, copy, paste. No. They said these 3 keys are together. So you actually, like, I
probably chose the Control C being copy and then the other 2, so it was just a...
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't in the room, and even if I was, I wouldn't have been the smartest guy in the room. So somebody much smarter than me, and it's been around...
Yeah.
Somebody might correct me here, but I think that was 3.1, Nick, Windows 3.11. Nick will come over the top and correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it was there, either that or 95, that it was released. And for the record, people...
286.
Okay, 286. So 808... 8088 processor.
Just when I was coming out and starting to work, I was a little graduate accountant back in 1990 or something.
That sounds about right. All right. But the other thing is, guys, that you know that Windows key? It's a magic key. There's so many other things associated with it. Windows D for desktop, Windows L for locking your machine, Windows P for presenting. Check it out. There's a whole bunch of other keys that you can use with it. I'm so glad that Apple came out with that, the Apple button, because then people started saying, oh, I wonder what the Windows button's been doing since 97. It's been doing amazing stuff since 1997, but no one's been using it until the Apple brought out that magic Apple button that people are like, one button to do it all. It's like one ring to rule them all.
Okay,
so we
come
can,
on.
all right, we can do some Excel online. We can do some automatic or some formatting. Okay, so we'd have to click the cells that we wanted to change, and then change the format on those cells. So it's all about getting to the cell. So we're going to jump across to it in a moment. With things like PowerPoint online, we can start or build a new presentation. So if I jump, I'm just going to present my desktop here for you for a moment, Trevor. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you a quick example of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote online. So that's just come up over there. So currently I've created a new document in a SharePoint document library, and this is using Word Online, formerly my Word app. So if I click in the document name there, I can rename the document just to Roly. So people are like, oh, I went into a SharePoint document library, I said new Word document, how do I rename the document? In the top there, we can just type the document in, name up there. You can then go down into the document and start, creating my shortcuts, cut, copy, paste, or, creating my documents for my shortcuts. If we look at insert, we do not have all of the tabs we would normally have in full-blown Word. Page layout, review, view, but I do have the option there to open it within Word itself. In the same way here, if I went into Excel online, it's just called Book 1. We're going to say expenses. I'm going to create an expenses file here, and what's interesting here is when I click on the File tab, we do not... Yes?
Where is it saving the document? So you're saying I'm going to create a new document in Word Online. Where is it being saved? You know,
that's a very good point.
Depending on where you open it from, is that what you...
Exactly, Trevor. That depends on where you open it from. So, for example, here we can see that this is actually saving expenses.xlsx into my OneDrive. So, Hub1, my SharePoint, Roland at Hub1, my personal OneDrive documents is where it's saving. You don't know what you don't know roadmap, which I was working on yesterday, all right, is being shaved under Enterprise Shared Documents and then Presentation. So that's in a document library within SharePoint, whereas this one's been saved into my OneDrive.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on where we start creating these documents from. I can save as into another location, I can share, I can print, but there's no save button here because I can see that it is currently being saved.
But you don't really want to start saving as, because you want to keep one single source of truth, and that's the whole objective of what we're doing here. It's about saying, well, we've created the document, don't go and save it as and create another copy of it.
Bingo.
Move it to where you want it to be.
Yes. So move it to where you want it to be, but you may need to rename or change it. It's just trying to show people that there's an option. You can see I opened PowerPoint online a while ago, and it's saying to me, hey, Rolly, you opened this a while ago. You haven't done anything with this presentation. Would you like to close it or refresh it? So I'm just going to hit refresh. At that point, it's going to just refresh my PowerPoint online. And up here, next week, what are we doing? Surface 4, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what you don't know. So we can start working on our presentation for next week. But, all right. So we can start working on our presentation for next week. But again, Trevor, if you look at my menu here, okay, I don't have all the options again. I've got designs. Even look at the transitions, for transition from one slide to the next. I mean, if you look at full-blown PowerPoint, you have so many different ways to transition between slides, and we are limited here when it comes things to animations, different views. However, I could still go and just present from here and start my slideshow. So it gives you some functionality, but not everything. I could share this, and it says, right, who would you like to share it with? Well, my man Trevor, and I'm going to change the permissions, let him view or edit. Well, we'll let him edit, and I'm going to say, hi Trev, check out next week's session. Right, boom, show options there, send an email invitation, get the link, share with, and I'm going to share and send that to Trevor. Lastly, the last one is OneNote. Okay, so I've got my different notebooks here. I can open my different notebooks. I can create new sections within my notebook. Okay, Roland at Work, Enterprise. I'm going to open that Enterprise notebook. And then we can say meeting for you don't know what you don't know. We'll go through and then we'll have a meeting and take our notes for the next session. Okay, so I want you guys to be thinking everything that you knew in OWA or webmail or Outlook web access, all of the stuff you knew from there. I want you to think about that kind of technology, but being used for Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote, with SharePoint really being the back end of this.
So what we're sort of looking at is saying, go to where you want the document to be saved.
Yes.
Create the document from that place, that point, or that place, be it SharePoint, OneDrive, all of those sort of things. Then it sets where it's going to be saved. And then if you want to get the additional features after it's been created, then open it in desktop version, but it will always keep that link to where it was originally started.
Yep. So I could go into any of those documents now, and because I've got the full-blown application on my desktop, open in Word, Excel, or PowerPoint.
Cool. We're going to have a OneNote session, because I must admit I do get a bit I've got to type
All
in
right.
my
Well,
OneNote.
I've seen some
Look at
people,
that.
Jacinta saying, yeah, she loves OneNote. Well, let's, I like this feedback, guys. Anything that you want to hear more of, put in the IM window here. Let us know. We love feedback. We're big fans of it. Let us know what you think of the session. Let us know what you think on Twitter, on LinkedIn. Connect up with us. Let us get your feedback. There's open channels of communication through social networks. We would love to give you exactly what you wanted in these sessions. So please, next week we're doing Surface, but we've got like 3 months mapped out. However, it's flexible. So although we've got 3 months mapped out of these sessions, please give us your feedback and we will try to give you what you want from these sessions. And, Trevor, I think that's it for me. I've just put Surface Pro 4 all over next week. Fun and games with that.
Have you clicked on the next slide?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe might be getting a bit of lag here and there.
I think we are getting some lag. Someone was saying they're on a 4G connection.
That's Nick, I think. Yeah, so if you can't see, I can't see the next slide, but the next week's session is on Surface Pro 4.
Yep.
We will go through and do a complete review and some of the things and the benefits you get from a Surface Pro 4. So some of the tips and tricks you can work within that.
Fantastic.
Excellent. We'll finish up on that as we promised. Good session today. Thank you so much, Roland. I'm learning everything. These weekly sessions, if I'm learning things every week, that means that we're hitting the right mark. So we are learning, and our people that are on the call are learning things as they go on. So thank you so much. The online stuff is very, very confusing to us mere mortals, and this week's session has just helped me again with the understanding of why and how you use it is probably the biggest point.
Guys, everybody on the call, we're going to wrap up now, but I want you to think Word Online is similar to Outlook Web Access or webmail that I've used. So I want you to use your learnings from stuff you've been using for the last 10, 20 years, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, all of those online. It's just going to be a subset of functionality of the full-blown application. Can you do everything? No. If you're in a tight spot, however, this will help you out with limited functionality. So thank you very much. Please invite your friends, your family, anybody you know who wants to learn more about the Office applications, Office 365, and just get a much better understanding of the tools that are in front of them. I can almost guarantee you people are using 10% of the functionality of these tools at the moment. Our goal at Hub One is to drive that utilization up and make sure you get the best bang for buck out of your stuff. So from me, thank you very much for joining us this week. It's been an honor talking to you. I will see you next Tuesday at 11 o'clock.
10 o'clock for us in Queensland. So
10 o'clock for you in Queensland.
I'll catch everybody else as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, everyone on the call. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.